freedom is a possession of inestimable value. We forget our pleasures, we remember our sufferings. The long time to come when I shall not exist has more effect on me than this short present time, which nevertheless seems endless. Even if you have nothing to write and say so. Death is not natural for a state as it is for a human being, for whom death is not only necessary, but frequently even desirable. The study and knowledge of the universe would somehow be lame and defective were no practical results to follow. No poet or orator has ever existed who believed there was any better than himself. No one has the right to be sorry for himself for a misfortune that strikes everyone. Justice is the set and constant purpose which gives every man his due. No one was ever great without some portion of divine inspiration. He only employs his passion who can make no use of his reason. The only excuse for war is that we may live in peace unharmed. Hatred is settled anger. Next to God we are nothing. To God we are everything. People do not understand what a great revenue economy is. For how many things, which for our own sake we should never do we perform for the sake of our friends? There are more men ennobled by study than by nature. In everything, satiety closely follows the greatest pleasures. A man's own manner and character is what most becomes him. He does not seem to me to be a free man who does not sometimes do nothing. All pain is either severe or slight. If slight, it is easily endured. If severe, it will without doubt be brief. Hatreds not vowed and concealed are to be feared more than those openly declared. Fear is not a lasting teacher of duty. The eyes like sentinel occupy the highest place in the body. What one has, one ought to use, and whatever he does he should do with all his might. I add this, that rational ability without education has oftener raised man to glory and virtue, than education without natural ability. Ability without honor is useless. No one can give you better advice than yourself. Natural ability without education has more often attained to glory and virtue than education without natural ability. Liberty consists in the power of doing that which is permitted by the law. What is thine is mine, and all mine is thine. That last day does not bring extinction to us, but change of place. Nothing stands out so conspicuously, or remains so firmly fixed in the memory, as something which you have blundered. According to the law of nature, it is only fair that no one should become richer through damages and injuries suffered by another. The best interpreter of the law is custom. The false is nothing but an imitation of the true. Laws should be interpreted in a liberal sense so that their intention may be preserved. Those wars are unjust which are undertaken without provocation, for only a war waged for revenge or defense can be just. It might be pardonable to refuse to defend some men, but to defend them negligently is nothing short of criminal. It shows nobility to be willing to increase your debt to a man to whom you already owe much. The precepts of the law are these: to live honestly, to injure no one, and to give everyone else his due. Freedom is a man's natural power of doing what he pleases, so far as he is not prevented by force or law. Great is our admiration of the orator who speaks with fluency and discretion. Rightly defined philosophy is simply the love of wisdom. The magistrates are the ministers for the laws, the judges their interpreters, the rest of us are servants of the law, that we all may be free. Honor is the reward of virtue. A tear dries quickly when it is shed for troubles of others. So near is falsehood to truth that a wise man would do well not to trust himself on the narrow edge. True nobility is exempt from fear. The nobler a man, the harder it is for him to suspect inferiority in others. I criticize by creation, not by finding fault. Confidence is that feeling by which the mind embarks in great and honorable courses with assured hope and trust in itself. You will be as much value to others as you have been to yourself. We must conceive of this whole universe as one commonwealth of which both gods and man are members. Rather leave the crime of the guilty unpunished than condemn the innocent. Nothing is so strongly fortified that it cannot be taken by money. The good of the people is the greatest law. If we are not ashamed to think it, we should not be ashamed to say it. To live is to think. Nature abhors annihilation. True glory takes fruit, and even spreads. All false pretenses, like flowers, fall to the ground, nor can any counterfeit last long. Peace is liberty and tranquility. When you are aspiring to the highest place, it is honorable to reach the second or even the third rank. Nature has planted in our minds an insatiable longing to see the truth. For a tear is quickly dried, especially when shed for the misfortunes of others. Time destroys the speculation of man, but it confirms nature. Rashness belongs to youth, prudence to old age. Frivolity is inborn, conceit acquired by education. Great is the power of habit. It teaches us to bear fatigue and to despise wounds and pain. It is foolish to tear one's hair in grief, as though sorrow would be made less by baldness. Cultivation to the mind is as necessary as food to the body. Never injure a friend, even in jest. It is the nature of every person to err, but only the fool perseveres in error. The greatest pleasures are only narrowly separated from disgust. The spirit is the true self. The spirit, the will to win, and the will to excel are the things that endure. There is nothing so absurd that some philosopher has not already said it. Any man is liable to err, only a fool persists in error. The enemy is within the gates, it is with our own luxury, our own folly, our own criminality that we have to contend. Every man's reputation proceeds from those of his own household. Laws are silent in time of war. Nothing is so unbelievable that oratory cannot make it acceptable. In a disordered mind, as in a disordered body, soundness of health is impossible. What is permissible is not always honorable. No obligation to do the impossible is binding. To some extent, I liken slavery to death. Knowledge which is divorced from justice may be called cunning rather than wisdom. Sweet is the memory of past troubles. The sinews of war are infinite money. In everything truth surpasses the imitation and copy. In doubtful cases the more liberal interpretation must always be preferred. Before beginning, plan carefully. An unjust peace is better than a just war. Never go to excess, but let moderation be your guide. Brevity is a great charm of eloquence. Love is the attempt to form a friendship inspired by beauty. A home without books is a body without soul. Virtue is a habit of the mind, consistent with nature and moderation and reason. A man of courage is also full of faith. The greater the difficulty, the greater the glory. Glory follows virtue as if it were its shadow.